Hi, everyone. Welcome to your latest Carson's Take 5. Ryan and Sonu here. Sonu, this one's titled, The Fed Cut, Now What? We saw another Fed cut. We call it the 25 basis points. That's 0.25%. That's the second 25 basis point cut. We saw one back in September.
Last month.
What I was going to say was, is there going to be one in December? That's where I'm going to go to you. What was your high-level view of kind of what the Fed said? The market reacted, I thought, fine. It didn't seem like much happened. Yeah. But what do you want to talk about on this Fed cut?
Let's I would say two pieces to it. One is I think the outlook is dovish.
Okay.
Because look, they've cut rates, including last year. So together, the cumulative set of cuts is about 1.5 percentage points, 150 basis points, right? That is the largest mid-cycle cut. I mean, by mid-cycle, I mean outside of a recession.
Okay.
Right? Largest mid-cycle cut we've seen since the mid-'80s. Even in the mid-'90s, when they didn't cut 150 basis points,
right.
1.5 percentage points. So this is a big deal. So they've come back a long way. And keep in mind, they're doing this even as inflation remains elevated, right? Normally, if inflation's elevated, you think, oh, why is the Fed cutting? Isn't part of their mandate to have low and stable inflation? Well, we don't have low inflation right now. Inflation's running close to 3%.
Right.
But this was what was remarkable was like Powell didn't seem too worried about it. He's like, no, if you take this out, if you take that out, if you take the tariff stuff out, somebody on X was joking, well, if you take life out, inflation's zero.
Yeah.
Just a joke. But no, Powell didn't quite do that. But he was arguing
Sonu, if you take all the losses, my Cincinnati Bengals are undefeated. Okay, if you take out the losses. So, yeah.
So anyway, Powell was arguing, if you take some of these things out, inflation's back at their target of 2%. All right. And now why are they cutting? Because they're worried about the labor market. Job growth has clearly been slowing. And I think they're going to continue cutting. The market's expecting them to cut even into, next year. I don't think December matters too much. Powell, I think, has a dovish bias. He's worried about the labor market. I think there are a lot of members on the committee that are worried about that. But some of them are clearly, thinking, what, the economy seems to be doing okay. Why are we cutting? Right. And I think you're getting that difference of opinion here.
Yeah, good points. I mean, I watched the Fed presser, as they call it, where Powell gets grilled, and I was shocked at how many people held the mic up and just coughed into it. It was driving me crazy. If you're holding a mic and the entire country is listening, don't clear your throat into a microphone. But that's another discussion for another day. But again, they really pointed out, he said, hey, listen, there's two things that really aren't going our way. I mean, the labor market's weakening and inflation is stubbornly higher than we want. That's kind of what you just said. End of the day, though, they're going to keep cutting because they're worried about the labor market. Just real time, like real world stuff that everybody's hearing. UPS is laying off 48,000 jobs, Intel 24,000, Nestle, which right ahead of Halloween. How about that? 16,000 jobs, Accenture 11,000, Ford 11,000, Microsoft 7,000, Salesforce 4,000, Target 2,000, and Kroger, a grocery store here in Cincinnati, 1,000. Now, companies lay off workers. This is how it goes. But that's what we're seeing out there. We don't have a ton of government data to really tell us how the labor market is. But the real world stuff says, maybe there are some cracks in the labor market. Am I on to something, Sonu?
I think hiring has been low. Right. And you always hear anecdotes, which is not to minimize any of it. Right.
Right.
But you would think the stuff would show up in initial claims benefits for, initial claims for unemployment benefits. Right. We haven't quite seen like layoff pickup at an aggregate level. Here's some perspective. This is before the shutdown. We got some data in August. 1.7 million people got laid off.
Okay.
Across the economy. So you put that, just to give you some context, that is like an average number. Right. In fact, that's actually lower than it was before the pandemic. In 2019, per month, we were averaging about 1.8 million layoffs. Right. But then people get hired. The other thing you don't see is, anytime I see a headline like Amazon's going to lay off 34,000 people, first of all, who are they laying off? Are they laying off people at the warehouses? Because then that would be a sign that they're worried about Christmas season. Right.
Sure.
Maybe people aren't buying that much, but apparently it's middle management,
right?
Which means I think they're trying to get more efficient. They're trying to reduce bloat, which is not to say all middle management is bloat, by the way, no offense.
And I think we're going to hear a lot about this in January because it feels like, history doesn't repeat itself. It often rhymes, Mark Twain. Every January, February, all these big tech companies do a lot of big layoffs. Every year to start the year, everybody's like, oh, my goodness, look at all these layoffs. I think a lot of it is they hired a lot during the year. They're getting thin again. And as they continue to grow, they hire more.
They hired a lot in 2021, 2022. I think they're still working off the fat off that, right? Yeah. I mean, the economy is not growing at 3%. So do you need 500,000 employees or do you need 450,000 employees, right? Just to, as an example. I think that's
well said. So we're getting near the end here. Just from a market's point of view, the Fed did cut when the S&P 500 hit an all-time high literally the day before. Tuesday closed an all-time high. Wednesday they cut. So I found 21 other times going back in history when the Fed cut when the stock market was within 2% of an all-time high. So right there. 1 year later, the S&P 500 was higher 21 times, up like 14% on average. It's just one data piece. There's an old saying, don't fight the Fed. We have a dovish Fed. We have a strong market. I'm listening to another video for another day. It's not just 7 stocks. There are a lot of stocks out there going higher, not just in the U.S., globally. Inflation stubborn. Yes, earnings are strong. We're at the end. What's one thing that makes you bullish going into the end of the year here? I just listed a bunch. Maybe we're going to build on one of those. What are some reasons to still be bullish, even with what the Fed's doing? You
said don't fight the Fed, and you mentioned markets are going up. Don't fight momentum. Mm-hmm. Right. I'll add 2 more to that. Don't fight seasonality. Right. This is a period of time which is historically good for markets, maybe because people are underweight stocks coming into the season and the chase is on. Right. Mm-hmm. And then 4th, don't fight the White House. Right. They're doing trade deals. And now with the China thing, I think for a year, maybe at least 6 months, we've got a moratorium on trade chaos.
Right.
I think that's behind us. Trade uncertainty is behind us as well. So those are 4 things. Don't fight the Fed. Don't fight the White House. Don't fight momentum. Don't fight seasonality.
That's pretty good. You just come off the top of your head. I like that. That's good. That's good. What are we going to do in these videos if everything's calm? They're going to be boring. I mean, nothing to talk about. Trust me. I don't think we're going to complain, though. Everybody, listen, there's a lot of things going on out there. The Fed did just cut. What's going to happen next? We think maybe some more cuts probably in the future. Market's going to hang in there, and the economy's doing all right as well. With all that, this is the latest Carson's Take 5. We'll see everyone next week. Take care. Goodbye.